panel to talk about not just women entrepreneurship, but also women investors, and bring that whole world together. And yes, it is again about how do you accelerate the impact that is required and that will be created by women entrepreneurs. Earlier today, we had Honorable Leela talking about women entrepreneurs and their contribution to not just impact but also economy. We have got an absolutely rock star panel here. Carona, Maansi, Amrita, Malek, Ahana, and Sahiba. Unfortunately, Ahana couldn't join us today. She had a last minute emergency. But just looking through their profiles, Mansi, having her experience in the media entertainment industry, being founding member, Dr. Amrita having her own experience with Smart Story Labs. We have Ms. Malek coming in, founder and international strategy consultant, empowering women entrepreneurs. And Ms. Anna couldn't join us, but CEO of Clear. And then we have got Corona, and we also have Saiba. So Corona is the moderator. So what I'll do is I'll introduce the moderator, and then I will take a back seat where the moderator can then introduce the rest of the women power pack, and the whole power pack that is coming together. So before I go and lose my voice again and have a brain freeze, let me introduce our moderator. Karuna is a strategic marketing advisor and fractional CMO with over 2 decades of experience working with global companies and founders and leadership teams to bring strong, growth focused marketing functions. Her work spans IT services, SaaS, BFSI, where she has led marketing across brand, digital, and demand generation, supporting both scale and business transformation. Very important one. She has also been on the other side of the table as a founder of She's Special, a hyperlocal platform for women. She brings a first hand understanding of the entrepreneurial journey. This combination of operating experience and strategic marketing perspective shapes how she approaches every conversation, and hence, in some ways, she is our moderator today. So, Karuna, where are you? Can you come on stage? Take stage, and I'll hand over the stage to you.
Sure. How do I take the stage? Can you hear me? All right.
Yes,
Thank you so
I
much,
can hear
Hemant.
you.
Thank, Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I think a little bit exaggerated, but that'll do. Thank you, everyone, for joining in today. A very good evening to all of you. First of all, I think we have some really wonderful panelists here, and thanks, Hemant, for calling that out. And I will be introducing each one of them because I think when I was shared those profiles, the first thing that came to my mind was, wow, who are these women? I think each of these women are like multifaceted personalities, but more than that, I think they wear multiple hats, right? Most of them are startup founders, they're investors, they're researchers, they're mentors, and whatnot. I was like, wow, I was blown away, to be very honest. But having said that, I think the reason why we are here today is to have a very important conversation, right? This is about women entrepreneurs, and this is about women investors, and why do they matter to this ecosystem, right? Personally, I feel, with everything that is happening around us, it has never been more important to have this conversation, a conversation about, having more participation, having more women leading this ecosystem, which is just going to make this a lot more stronger, a lot more diverse, and a lot more inclusive, right? But I think that's enough about the ecosystem. Let's just introduce the panel first, and let's see who all we have here. Let me go one by one. It's a really wonderful a panel of group of women that we have here. Unfortunately, Hannah couldn't join us, but let me introduce you to Malik. Malik, could you just raise your hand, please? So Malik joins us from Dubai. Malik, are you able to hear us? You are on mute.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm here. I'm hearing you.
Hi. Hi, Malik. So Malik joins us from Dubai. Am I right, Malik?
I'm now in Paris. Just landed
Okay, oh,
in
wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. So Malik is an international strategy consultant. She's an entrepreneur. She's a founder of NJ Global with cross-border experience across MENA and Europe. And she has done wonderful work in innovation, investment, and founder growth, right? And I think what we are going to hear from her today is a lot about women investors, her perspective, the kind of challenges that women investors are facing, but more importantly, the kind of contribution that they are, actually making to this ecosystem. Thanks, Malek. Welcome to the panel. Let me introduce now to Dr. Amrita, Dr. Amrita Subhayan Krishnan. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I think
Yes,
there is a
everyone
little
can
bit of
pronounce.
disturbance. Can somebody go on mute? I'm not sure who's this one. Amrita, hi again. We met yesterday, and if I have to say one thing about Amrita is whatever I say in the next 1 minute, I don't think so. It's going to be enough because I think she's a lot more than what I'm going to say. And you will know that in the coming few minutes, once she starts talking. But Dr. Amrita, who joins us from UAE, is the founder and CEO of Smart Story Labs. She is an amazing researcher working at the intersection of AI, governance, innovation, and ethical digital ecosystem. She works across governments, all over the world, and you'll hear more from her in the coming few minutes. Welcome to the panel, Amrita. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay,
having me.
now let's move over to Mumbai. Mansi, do we have you here? Mansi, hi.
Hi, hi, hi. How are you doing? Namaskar.
Great to great to have you, Mansi. And I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Mansi is a serial startup entrepreneur. And when we say serial startup entrepreneur, she is actually a specialist. And if I may call her so, she is the go to person when it comes to the media and entertainment industry in Mumbai, India. She is a co-founding member behind many famous Bollywood ventures and media and entertainment ventures, including ALT Balaji, Applause Entertainment, I-10 Media Network. So she joins us from Mumbai, India today, but her perspective, especially as far as the building and scaling up of startups are concerned, are going to be really, really insightful. Welcome again, Mansi. Happy to have you here. Really happy to
Happy
have
to
you
be
here.
here. Thank you so much. Among so many powerful women.
Last but not the least, Sahiba, very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Sahiba joins us from Germany. Is that so?
I'm in London currently.
You're in London currently, but I think her venture operates out of Germany, if I'm not wrong.
It
Correct?
operates out of UK and Europe. So Germany, because we've
Okay,
recently expanded into Germany,
right.
European footprint. So that's where the shift.
Wonderful.
Yeah, London is home.
Wonderful. Right. So Sahiba Patni is the founder and CEO of We Delivered, a fast-growing quick commerce platform connecting local vendors with modern consumers through a culturally relevant asset-light delivery model. But I'm sure she is a lot more than that, and we will be hearing from her in the next few minutes when we get into the discussions about the challenges that the women founders face, the kind the energy that it takes, the commitment that it takes, the hard work that it takes to actually build and scale up the kind of venture that she has created. Welcome to the panel today, Sahiba. So happy to have you here. Welcome. All right, I think so. That was all about the introduction. I would like to start this panel discussion by, asking each of the panelists one very specific question. Right now, it's some might think of it as a silly, but I think it's an important one to address. Now, the question is this, right? What is one assumption that people still make about women founders or women investors? That needs to change, and it needs to change right now, according to all of you. Let's go one by one. Sahiba, would you like to go first?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me. And it's a wonderful company to be in. So thank you. I think one of the assumptions that needs changing is that women founders, as a founder, I'll keep my conversation curated towards towards entrepreneurship and founding and businesses.
Sure.
So I think women founders are a niche. This is one big assumption, and I think this needs to change. Well, it needed to change yesterday. Um,
Yes.
And I think the reason why is because, see, as I want to really challenge that word directly, is because niche means what? Niche means small. Niche means secondary. Niche means well, we'll get to you eventually. But women are not a niche market. Women are not a niche workforce. Women are certainly not niche when it comes to building companies which have a bigger purpose or solving real problems. But what is niche? Here's what actually is niche: a group of people who have historically decided who gets funded, what gets funded, who gets bagged. That's a group of people who I would call niche. And those are the people who are making decisions for a world which they are partially not aware of at all. And so I think this is an assumption which really, really needs to change, of calling women a niche segment.
Cannot agree more, Saiba. Really cannot agree more. Let's go to Malik and hear from her. Malik, over to you.
Yes, thank you. Before I dive in, I would like to thank the organizers, you, our moderator, Carona, all the panelists, and all of you for being here. It's such a pleasure joining here today. I mean, founders, investors, CXO, researchers, the fact that we all are here with different backgrounds and different experiences, having this conversation tells me something has really already shifted. So I want to make sure that we are going to leave having moved it further. So such a pleasure again to discuss those kind of subject. And to answer your question, what assumption really need to change? The assumption I hear most often, and the one that does the most damage, is that the problem is confidence. So if we just put enough women through pitch training, leadership programs, lean in workshop, I think this gap will close. So that the issue is, I think, psychological, and therefore, of course, individual. It's not. It's framing that way. It seems that's convenient because it puts the responsibility on women and leaves the system undertouched. Here is what the data actually shows. If we say that women who do everything right, strong companies, strong metrics, clear pitches, still raise less at power valuation. So it's not confidence problem, it's a structural problem. So the assumption that needs to change is that women to be fixed, that need to be fixed, the infrastructure around them, the network, some of criteria, the investment committees, and the definition of what a fundable founder looks like. So this is the assumption I want to highlight here.
No, no, very interesting perspective, Malik. I think we will come back to that, when we are talking about investments, right? And how women founders are approaching investors for investment, and whether confidence or lack of confidence is actually creating a problem or not. Thank you so much. Let's go to Dr. Amrita now. Dr. Amrita, over to you. Let's hear from her.
Hi, I would like to jump right into it because my being a researcher, we always have long answers. So,
I'm sure.
and also there was a joke uh, that was going around in internet saying that my grandfather used to have a secret wife, but he could manage that household with his single income while his business is
Well,
selling for, because during that time it was possible. Now, working women is not frowned upon because all the working classes across the globe need two incomes to sustain in this economy. So that is not a problem for women currently in modern society. They can be entrepreneurs, they can work, it's not frowned upon. But one assumption that think still persists across regions, especially in parts of South Asia, is that women entrepreneurship is acceptable only if it stay close to traditional roles and traditional gender roles and temporary in nature. For example, if a woman starts a clothing line or a beauty brand, it's it's great because it brings in income and she can stop at any moment and go back to her gender roles of making sandwiches or making babies. But if she wants to go into building AI or next generation internet or a frontier technology, it takes time. It's a long haul. So that is frowned upon. That will not get funding. That will not get investors because investors don't trust women for the long haul. They trust them for the short entrepreneurship. It's traditionally inbuilt into the society itself. When will you stop this and go back? So you can't be invested in long haul. You kind of take the power away from women. So what that needs to change because in the future, economic value is being built on, not on short cycle, but it's built on deep tech, digital infrastructure, global platforms. And if women are encouraged only into certain types of entrepreneurship, which is effectively excluding them from where the power really sits in creation. So that's what I believe that needs to change because entrepreneurship currently it's partly encouraged, but for roles that is temporary and which is aligned to or close to traditional gender roles that need to change. STEM investment, STEM VCs from women need to come up. So that is my understanding while working across various like Carona has said, I have worked in India, in UK, lived and worked in Poland, Oman, now in Dubai. I also have associated with, currently is associating with the European Union ecosystems, Latin American ecosystem, and Nordic ecosystem. So this is what I see as a common trend across globe. It's not just a reality of a particular region. Women entrepreneurship is encouraged, but for very traditional roles, not for something that require a long haul, long commitment. Society in general expect women to leave it on a short notice and go back to traditional roles when society demands it or expected it from her. So that is where the investment for women entrepreneurship lacks in. If we find a woman entrepreneur who want to invest in AI or next generation internet or frontier technology, most of the investors will try to discourage it or she will lose funding. So that is a general trend that needs to change because it's not about capability. Women are capable. We have the largest number of researchers in STEM technology from our gender. So we are capable. We are not just getting the money for
True.
it.
No, definitely. No, I think that's a great perspective, Dr. Amrita. It's just that I am actually based out of Bangalore, and I work with deep tech founders. And let me tell you, most of them are women, right? Just before we finished this, just before this discussion, there was a discussion that was happening, and the person there mentioned about the breast cancer, detection technology. So that was they were talking about Neramai, which is actually the company that I worked for, which is an AI based detection technology, right? Thermal technology. But I do agree. I think the ones that I work with are actually the minority and not the majority. Completely agree with you on that. I think let's move on in the respect of time. I think we have heard from everybody, right? And thank you so much for your perspective. I think all of you brought in a very different perspective, and it is so right? And they're all so correct when you look at it from the lens of the person who is speaking from. But even overall, right, in general, I think most of the women founders are want these perceptions to change and change it right now, and only then this ecosystem will be more inclusive, right? Let's, I think, now completely just jump into the next section. I kind of feel like we are having a conversation in our living room, five of us together, but I think let's stick to the structure that we have right now and get going. So next section is about a little bit related to the first question, but this is about the barriers, right? And when we're talking about barriers, I think let's have the real questions posed in here. So we have seen the progress over the years, right? And we see a lot more women founders right now, and especially in certain countries, in certain states, in certain cities, right, where we belong to, we see a lot more participation. But according to you, right, what are the barriers that still exist today for women entrepreneurs that people often underestimate, right? And these are not the visible ones that we just spoke about, right? And that the perception ones, but what are the barriers which are not visible? And these are the ones which people underestimate. These are maybe not these are not the normal ones that we talk about, which is family responsibility, perception of these traditional role versus the contemporary expectation of the of everyone. But we are talking about the challenges, the barriers that exist that people underestimate, right? Let's hear it from you again. I think let's go to Malik first, right? As in women investors, I'm sure she will have a very interesting perspective. Malik, let's start from you very quickly, and then we will move on to you. But do remember the time. I think we will give you a little more time when it comes to women in investing, because that's where you would have lots to say. But over to you for now, Malik.
Yes, thank you. I think about access in three recommended layers, and I will be brief. So, when people focus on only
Sure.
one layer, that's usually why interventions fail. I think the first layer here
Mm-hmm.
is capital, and women led startups receive only 2.3% of global venture capital. And yes, today women are starting businesses. Women launched 49% of new businesses in 2024. This is, of course, something, but still, the founding grade is not the issue. The funding grade is. So this is about the first one, the capital layer. I think the second one is networks. And VC still runs on warm
Mm-hmm.
introductions. Who knows you? Who watches you? Who puts you in the right room in order to make this connections with
Yes,
right people
I'll get.
at the really the right time? I mean, and women were historically. I don't like to say excluded, but maybe not introduced, as I said, in the right room from those I mean informal networks. We have not fixed that, I think, and we have simply added a few
I agree.
women into the existing structure. I mean, maybe I think it's not the same thing. And I will finish with this third layer. um, I think we have to speak about language, pitch decks,
Yes.
terms sheets, due diligence, and so on. They were designed around a specific founder archetype, and when women don't match that archetype, they are not really failing the
True.
system. So, a big part of my work as a mentor, as a coach on a daily basis with women, is closing that translation gap. So yes.
Malik, those are wonderful insights. Let me tell you that if I had you as a mentor when I launched my entrepreneur venture, right? Entrepreneur venture. I think maybe I would have not put it on pause, and maybe I would have scaled it up, definitely with investment. But amazing, amazing insights there, Malik. I think let's go to Sahiba quickly. I think her perspective will be very important for here, because as a founder who has scaled up her venture to multi-country operations right now, it'll be wonderful to know what's her perspective when it comes to this particular question. Yes, Sahiba.
Thank you. I would say I have two points to make here, and I will say
Mhm.
those as an immigrant founder. I came from India. I built in London. Then I scaled to Germany currently, and we are in Netherlands next week. I can tell you that the barrier for women like me is never just one thing. it is gender, it's geography, and the very specific weight or what your family believes success should look like for a woman like you. It's not that
Right.
malicious weight, it's a loving one, which almost makes it harder to push against. So, women building across India, Southeast Asia, Africa, they carry this weight every single day. They are not just fighting a VC bias, they are fighting a family's definition of what a respectable woman does with her ambition. They are fighting a banking system which is not built for her credit profile. And in a world of consumer tech, the market which is where I come from, the opportunity which is the market per se is actually the market which we are taught to serve and not to leave. And then I think the second barrier, I would say, and me and my co-founder, we always speak about this. It's internally we call it the grateful founder trap, which means that women founders are so starved of capital that when it finally arrives, they accept bad terms, they accept bad partners, they accept bad governance, and then they feel grateful for it. There's this whole ecosystem, you celebrate the announcement, but nobody really
Correct.
talks about what did you sign away, what did you agree, what did you give up on governance in order to get your capital, because at that point it feels like an oxygen. So I would say this as one of the barriers, that it's really not an opportunity, the capital on most occasions. It's just a structural coercion, distressed, I would say, as opportunity. And I really think it needs changing.
No, so many points. There's so many points here. Thanks a ton, Sahiba. But I think the one that is sticking to me right now is that we are not taught to serve. We are taught to serve and not to lead. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I mean, I can't really agree. I think all of us in our journey, right, would have faced this multiple times, and I think in spite of that, we are here. Right, that says a lot. But I think only we know what it has taken, right, for us to to be here and talking about this. Let's now move on to, thank you for that perspective, Saiba. Let's move on to Mansi now. Mansi, let's hear from you.
So thank you, Corona. I'm actually going back to your first question, because I think your first
Hmm.
question and your sort of, second question are both interrelated, right?
Yes,
So there's a very
true.
famous quote, by Sheryl Sandberg, which says that, in the future, there will be no female leaders. There are only going to be leaders, right? So the first and foremost barrier
Yeah,
I think that we are fighting against is, not being
true.
an entrepreneur, but being a female entrepreneur and being a male entrepreneur, right? And that's the first gender bias I think that we are fighting against at every step when we go to build a business, raise capital, scale it, form teams, get people on board, form a board, etc., etc., right? The second most important thing is that this facade, or
Correct.
this notion that women don't understand P&L, right? Women don't understand profit and loss, right? I mean, this is one of the most
Don't
realistic
even
things,
ask. Yeah,
right? I currently, head a company and I'm
yeah,
responsible for the P&L of the company. But, if you see in my own sector, media and entertainment, there would be about 0.1 or 1% women who would be the CEOs of a media and an entertainment company, right? And I'm talking about all over the globe.
true.
I mean, Warner Brothers,
Yes,
had its first woman CEO called Anne in 2019 for the first time in over 3 or 4 decades, right? So that's what we are talking about, right? So we are battling against women not understanding PNL, women not understanding how to run a business, women don't understand numbers, women don't understand technology. If it's a tech business, only a man can build it, right? So I think we are battling with a lot of
true.
assumptions, which are just, some wonderful imaginary thoughts in the mind of a lot of beautiful people out there. So yeah, so we plan to, sort of break the barriers and yeah, go past all these wonderful imaginary stories that we tell in our, that we tell in our sector.
I agree, but I think these are the barriers or the biases. I think we are tackling every single day, right, in some way or the other, right? But I think change is happening. Maybe it's not fast enough for us, for our liking, right? Let's hear from Amrita. I'm sure she will have a very different perspective as well. But let's hear from her.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
Amrita.
kind of have a very different. I agree with everyone who talked here about barriers. So me being a founder and entrepreneur is a very chance one. I landed. I'm surprised that I landed on it. So when I started my journey as a researcher during my doctorate, it was a pioneer research. It was on 2020. I wanted to look into how smart contracts and blockchain applies on media production, and I was not getting a supervisor for it because everyone was like, it was 2020 and no one believed that it was needed as a research. So I was jumping through hurdles and going through loops, and then finally none of the filmmakers agreed to it, but computer faculty, computer science professor agreed that okay, we need to look into it. It's something that might be interesting because it's filmmaking. He has never supervised a filmmaker before. So, so during those journey, I found out that I have so many research questions that I wanted answered, and I'm not going to get a platform for it. That's why I found my own research lab. So it was so much by chance. And during those journey, I went into Ignite, which is a flagship of Sheikh Hamdan in UAE. I'm a mentor there, and then I heard a lot of mentorship problems people face, irrespective of genders. And the biggest barrier I found from those stories are because personally mine is a non-profit and it's a research lab. It's under EU, so I don't have funding issues at the moment. It might happen, but. What I saw is as the main barrier is the poster girl syndrome or the poster girl dynamic or the burden of representation that an entire ecosystem puts on female entrepreneurs because there will be like a few, only like three or four, and the entire gender
Right.
representation is put on these few entrepreneurs and they are not allowed to fail. There should be equal representation for failure too. When male founders are allowed to fail and flourish it and flaunt it and move on into a next venture so easily, the burden of representation, thereby the poster girl syndrome and the main character assertion, everything falls on the shoulders of female founders. I think that it's a psychological thing, but it's the biggest problem. So they're not allowed to fail, and if they fail, the burden falls on them so heavily that they will find it hard to find the next support system economically. So that's what I
Right.
believe is the biggest hurdle and biggest barrier that women faces. So we need to answer it. We need to treat it, or we need all the women out there, entrepreneurs and VCs, need to ask questions in terms of maths. Like, what are the percentage of failure? How much returns are did you get? Or the women founders are getting in an ecosystem. Give us the math, give us the numbers. We have to talk about numbers than poster girls or representations or individual stories. We need to talk about the math so that the burden will be reduced on these female founders.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. No, that's a very valid point. I think, when it comes to failure, I think one failure and you're out, right? When it comes to our gender, I do not think so. That is the case, everywhere, right? But I'm sure Malik also will have a perspective on that, right? As to how do they evaluate this particular, concern, right? And we will come to that because the next section is about women in investing. So let's go there. Let's go to the other side and hear from them, right? So the question here, right, and though we have only one, one person who's in women investor, I would actually like to open this question to others as well, right? So let's get into answering this very important question, right? How does having more women in investing change the kinds of businesses that get noticed, funded, and supported, right? So let's hear from the investor's perspective first, and let's hear from the founder's perspective then. context, because founders will have a very different perspective, and the investor here, who is Malek, she will have a very different perspective, right? So, and there is a follow up question here as well. Are we seeing meaningful changes already, and or are we still very very early in the journey, right? So that's the question, for which we need some answers here, some real insights here, and maybe some takeaways for the women entrepreneurs and founders as to how they should be tackling this investors challenge, the challenge when it comes to raising capital a lot better, right? Malek, over to you now.
Yes, thank you, Carona, for this question. So it's a huge one. Women investors impact. So investment is a pattern recognition. What you recognize as fundable depends on what you have seen succeed. So women investors bring a different pattern library, and that changes what gets seen. So I think it unlocks markets that were previously invisible, like I mean, healthcare needs that were underfunded, caregiving technologies, climate solution outside traditional VC geography, and so on. And these are not niche market, as our colleague mentioned later on. They were simply not being looked at. So there is also a behavioral effect. So women founders ask for more, and they see women across the table. So because representation changes what feel possible. And then there is, I think, compounding. So one funded founder becomes visible, and visibility creates role models, and role models create the next generation, and so on. And we are underestimating that multiplier effects.
True. No, I can't agree more. But the question that I need an answer from you, right, Malik, is that are we seeing that change, or are we still very early in the journey? Has the change happened?
So there are signals. I mean, most of what we are seeing still early signals.
Right.
Women are growing, but
Mm-hmm.
they remain a small fraction of total capital. I mean, it's from my experience, for example, and when I speak about moderation, about programs like BPI, for example, deal count for all female founding teams dropped by 13% in 2025. So, I mean, it's not a huge number. So, more capital
Right.
went to fewer companies. I think this is concentration, it's not inclusion.
One of the founders was raised capital, and hear her perspective. I think somebody is signaling, Hemant is signaling that we are almost out of time, but let's I think let's tackle a few more questions and then we'll close it. Saiba, over to you. I think let's hear from you, the other side.
Sure. So, as somebody who has both male investors and female investors on the cap table, I see a
Right.
stark difference. And as some and ask me hand on heart, I would go for women investors, and not because of inherent the same gender thing, but it's also because
Connect and all that. Yeah.
there's delivery from female investor side. So the most important thing which I observe between a male investor and a female investor is that the quality of capital deployed is very different. So there's something called warm capital, there's something called cold capital, right? Cold capital is you send in, like there's a wire transfer, and then there's a quarterly board meeting, and that's about it. A warm capital instead is somewhere where you have network that you open, or the doors that get open, or a phone call on a Thursday night where everything is coming down crashing, and then you need this one person who you can speak with, sometimes to take advice, sometimes to tell you you've got this. Women founders disproportionately, I think, have been accustomed to cold capital, and
Right.
as opposed to, like, warm capital which are given to you by women in general. So yeah, and I don't say this, like I said, because women tend to have a nurturing quality, in general. I don't think it's from that angle. I think that's a lazy narrative. I think mainly because women have been there. They have been there when they were only the ones in the room and they had no one to fall back to. So they automatically, when they see some other person, whether a male or a female founder, there's this cushion that they want to give them. So I think there's a stark difference between the two types of founder, I mean, investors.
No, no, no. Excellent, excellent input there. Definitely agree with you, and I think I myself have noticed that as well. So very quickly, I think let's move to the other section, right, which is about building and scaling. Very important question here, and the question that I would like to ask here, and let's go with Mansi this time first. Mansi, according to you, right, since you have been part of companies and ventures which you have scaled up, right? What are the practical challenges that women founders face when it comes to building and scaling, right? Is it capital, is it hiring, is it networks, visibility, mentorship, or is it something completely different that that people don't know about, right? Over to you. Let's hear from you.
So I think, Corona, it's a combination of everything that you have just stated, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
Yeah.
different things in, different, models or products that you're building, right? It starts
Mm-hmm.
with capital, of course, right? Capital is one of the, like I said, that, funding is dependent on the gender dynamic. If you're a woman, you
Right.
deserve $500, for example. If you're a man, you deserve $5,000. So that's the stark difference we are talking about, right? Moving on
Right.
to, sort of working with a female founder, right? I've seen and I have, experienced in a very subtle manner that, a large section of men don't want to report to a female, founder, right? Or report to a female boss, right? Because there's some, I don't know what the reason for that is, right? But there is some sort of uneasiness in reporting to a female founder, right? Third is, of course, like I spoke about, at the start, that, the different avenues, right? So I'm saying whether it's about, sort of mentorship, it's about introductions, right? It's about profit, right? There's a certain perception. And there's a very strong and a biased perception about women not being able to scale businesses, right? Not only that, but also not being able to deliver profit, right? That is something that we should really, sort of focus on. And I'm emphasizing on that again and again because it's one of the things that, I have personally experienced, right? Or faced, where they think that if it's a woman who's heading a business, she won't be able to turn the business around in a profitable way. She should be given a content position or a creative position, not a business position.
HR position.
HR position, right? So all of those, sort of positions, with all due love and respect for those positions, but not a business position because she's not going to understand the business model, the business plan, the numbers, the dynamics, right? So I think it's a combination of everything you've said. So we have our battles, right? So I think we pick our battles because it's a 360-degree holistic, complex web of issues that we are dealing with.
True. No, I agree. I think I would have loved to hear the perspective of some more panelists here, but I think we are running out of time. So we would like closing comments from all of you, and let's go with Amrita first. So Amrita, before you make your closing remarks, I just want to hear from you in terms of let's look ahead, right? When it comes to the next 5 years, right? What would you like to see meaningfully change, right? We discussed about the challenges, the barriers, and we discussed about the what kind of investors perspective, how that should change, etc. But what would you like to see, right? I'm looking at your perspective, and of course the closing remarks, and then we will hear it from the others and close this wonderful discussion.
I want something very fundamental to change. I believe female
Hmm.
founders come to the ecosystem handicapped because the collateral we talk about banking, VC, and everything, but male founders have something to fall back into, which is family wealth or money or property or anything, while female founders comes handicapped into this because there is nothing to fall back into unless they marry or have kids. Then it's given to them, then the women themselves in the family. So it's a foundational, it's a basic, it's the uh, it goes back to 1,000 years of problems, but That is what I want to change. Some sort of falling back, cushioning for women from the society, the community they come from, irrespective of their marital status or if they want to have kids or have traditional roles. Uh, the trust that comes from the family itself, that will make a huge difference for women because we have seen that making a huge difference for men. So the data is out there. So it's a working model. So the cushioning, if it is there, I want to see that change to start with than anything else.
Oh, that will be a very welcome change indeed. Let's hear from Malik here. Malik, let's hear from you, your
Yes,
perspective on this.
I would say first gender disaggregated reporting in funds. If we don't really measure it, we don't manage it. A second shift, a woman as a decision makers in mainstream capital. So not side funds, not advisory roles, real allocation power. And the third thing is the deep tech pipeline inclusion. AI, biotech, climate change, and so on. So here there is where the next decade of capital will go. If women will not be able to be present there, we are looking in the next generation of inclusion. And I would say this clearly, we need to retire the word pipeline as an excuse.
Okay, definitely. I think very important points to note here for all the women entrepreneurs and founders. Definitely, yes, deep tech. And yes, of course, we can't measure it, we can't manage it, right? And that is something what Mansi was talking about. Yes, we do measure it and we do manage it. But point taken. Let's hear it from you, Sahiba.
Oh, I think again, as a founder living in London, building something across London and Europe, I think the infrastructure of this ecosystem needs to catch up with reality. And I struggle with this as somebody who comes from a Jain background with Jain ethos. I really struggle with this on a regular basis and somehow put up a strong face the following day and then get back to working. But the networks today
Right.
are also or still built around golf courses, late night dinners, cigarette breaks, afternoon hour after hour, beer pints. Now, and the pitch format still reward the loudest in the room, the loudest voice over the sharpest mind. And I don't think this is accidental. I think fundamentally it was all built around a very specific kind of a founder, which eventually is changing, but I don't think the ecosystem is changing with it. And so I think because it's quietly filtering out these extraordinary people before they even reach the term sheet, I think that needs to change.
No, no, excellent answer. I hope Hemant and Rishi are listening,
Yeah.
right? Especially the golf course bit. Now let's, the final comment it goes to Mansi. Let's hear from you, Mansi.
So, we are at the end of this beautiful and more than beautiful, I think, powerful and impact oriented session. And all I would like to say is that please don't look at us as a woman coming to you when we are coming to you to raise capital, pitch an idea, build a business. Please treat us as a founder, as an entrepreneur. Look at us from that lens. Don't look at us from a female lens, right? So the moment you shift the lens from us being a female to a founder, you're suddenly going to see the merit, the talent, the diligence, the passion, everything that we bring to the table and which will make the business a $1 billion business. So please do that for us and we are going to shine and get you all your returns and ROIs back.
Very, very well said. I think, I would just like to say thank you to all of you. What a wonderful conversation it has been. Again, I think I would like to repeat, just felt like we are sitting in a living room and just discussing our issues and problems and challenges, when it comes to being women entrepreneurs or investors. But having said that, I think what comes out clearly today is that a lot has happened, but a lot of challenges still remain, right? And I think what it needs to be done here from now onwards is to we need to see how fast the progress happens, whether the changes happen or not, and more importantly, how we are able to enable that change, right? And I think the responsibility also falls on a lot of us to ensure that the way people view us, the way people support us, the way people network with us, or the way people fund us, right, how that is going to change. And yes, I think all of us are going to do our bit in our own way. But what a wonderful conversation and what wonderful insights. Thank you so very much. And thank you so very much to our audience as well. And have a wonderful evening ahead. Lovely talking to all of you. Thank you
Thank you
again.
very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Uh, I will not even attempt to even summarize or share my expert comments on it, but I will say something. A couple of years ago, there was a cafe which was
Mhm.
opened. I think it was in India, and it was a cafe run by how do I put it? Mentally challenged people, an entire cafe entirely run by them. And it became a big news. And there was a conversation happening. And there's a lot of positive comments about that happening. And one guy was like simply shaking his head and was like, why, what happened? Isn't it good? He said, the problem is we need that. The problem is that you need to have a I think that's what is also wrong about women entrepreneurship. As you all have equivocally pointed out, we do not need that, and the problem is that we are still talking about it, and we still need to talk about it. But I think it's a
Indeed.
journey. We have to talk about it. We have to get it to become a larger. It needs to become a norm, right? We just now had Sahiba talking about the whole conversation culture of late night evenings, smoke breaks, the voice being loud. Until that changes, I guess we will still need to highlight, promote, and take the conversation until they is balanced, or you guys will take over.
I just had
Thank you.
one thing actually, just to add like one small line, Hemant.
Yeah.
And it's that, all these years, all these decades, us as women, I think we've been asked to fit in the room. We've been asked to speak a certain language. We've been asked to adapt to such an extent that now in the process, I think the authenticity of us as women, we've lost it. And that was what was the most dangerous part of us as women, our instinct, our vision, us, right? But just to be able to to get accepted, we've, I think, sort of changed. I think we just need to go back to being authentic, being our true selves, and I really think a lot would change just with that small change.